And welcome to Morning Brew on the Orion Talk Radio Network in 1650 AM, Tonawanda, New York. It is Friday, February 1st. TGIF, yay. Oh, Lori Frary is my guest today, and she is the founder of the Lazy Dissident. And we are going to talk about some solutions today, some nonviolent solutions in this very trying time that we're in our country. But before I bring Lori on, I want to read something that was posted today that I think it really talks about where Lori and I are going with our conversation today. Our strategy should be not only to confront empire, but to lay siege to it, to deprive it of oxygen, to shame it, to mock it. With our art, our music, our literature, our stubbornness, our joy, our brilliance, our sheer relentlessness, and our ability to tell our own stories, stories that are different from the ones we're being brainwashed to believe. That was by Arundhati Roy. And so, Lori, with that said, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. I'm thrilled to be on the show, and I'm thrilled to be able to talk about this new old concept, in this case called the Lazy Dissident, for the sole reason that I'm scared to death we're running out of time, and we have to pull out all the stops and do everything we can to take this country back and to have some sanity again.
Well, we keep feeding the machine. And people, I hear them complaining all the time. For about 2 years, I've been saying on my radio shows, quit participating. But for some reason, people cannot get their arms around that concept. And Lori, I'm hoping that in our discussion today, we can make it easier for people to understand how their participation is fueling our demise.
I'm with you on that, and that is it in a nutshell. We have the power. It's kind of like when, Dorothy was standing there at the end of The Wizard of Oz, and the witch from the east said, "Oh, you've had the power all the time." We do have the power, and the power in this particular case is non-compliance, non-participation, non-violent. Just don't play their game anymore. And it's really a very simple concept, and it is why that I felt pretty confident when I coined the phrase lazy dissident, because they sort of don't go together. They're sort of a paradox. And the point is we don't advocate people carrying signs and marching down the street anymore. So that time has passed, unfortunately. And the reason why I say that is from firsthand knowledge and participation in the effort myself. I was one of the founding people who started an Occupy movement in my own town, Occupy Sarasota, Florida. And I ended up with a target on my back, I think, from the FBI because I read several articles that they were targeting the people who were doing these protests because we were pointing our finger at the bad guys, and the bad guys are on Wall Street, and the ones with the money, and the banksters, and the people that are controlling with their money the government, the puppets in the government, and the way our legislation is written, and the lobbyists and everything else. It's all controlled by the money. So in order to break the bank, so to speak, we have to stop participating in it. And the Lazy Dissident is a method that is total non-participation, meaning take your money out of the banks, as one example, out of the big banks, put it in a local credit union or a small bank if you're scared or whatever, but at least start by pulling your support, your participation away from the biggest power that is controlling everything.
I'd like to comment on that, Lori, because I've seen several articles this past week about an unprecedented removal of funds from bank accounts in the United States. And all of this talk of a fiscal cliff and monetary collapse, and not only that, at the same time, the silver and gold sales have gone through the roof. And so this indicates to me that people are getting a clue that they need to take personal responsibility for their financial security. If you have anything in paper, you can wake up any fine day and you are not going to have anything. My friend said, oh, well, we're losing I told her you should take your 401k. She said, well, they'll penalize me. I said, what's it worth today compared to what it was worth 6 months ago? Well, we're losing on it. And I said, so it's better to lose your penalty than to lose all of it. Get it out. Buy silver. Buy gold, buy food, buy guns, buy ammo, but get it out of paper. Anything that is paper is as good as not having anything. And I cannot stress that enough. Whatever little penalty you're going to pay is not worth losing all of it.
Well, not only that, and you're right on. I've even gone so far as to have people argue with me that the FDIC backs every account up to $100,000 and in some cases up to $200,000, every depositor. And I said, are you really, really seriously believe in that? I mean, if all of the banks got run on in 1 day or 2 days and they closed out everything, do you really believe that the FDIC is going to just come over to your house and bring you a check for what you had in the bank?
The FDIC is broke.
People need to be realistic about what we're talking about here. My boyfriend last week went to the bank. I told him, I said, you've been fighting me on this. I want you to go and pull your extra cash out of the bank. We don't have that much, but what extra there was, just keep enough in there to pay the bills. So he does that. And while he's standing there, one of the clerks behind the counter, one of the tellers, says, boy, we sure have had an amazing amount of people coming in here taking their cash, asking for cash, taking their money out of the bank. You think there's a run on the bank. And my boyfriend's eyes were bugged out of his head. Did she just really, truly say that out loud?
Right.
And like you said, the writing's on the wall. If the Miss Media is telling us that that people are taking money out of banks in unprecedented numbers, and she said, and I quote, and they're closing their accounts. Now, this was at Fifth Third Bank, which is a fairly good sized one, okay? So so the point is that people are actually doing it. And one thing you need to realize is that any bank will tell you that they only carry a certain amount of cash in their bank, and it is a very small percentage in comparison to their depositors. So there's not that much cash out there.
Well, and then
I'm not trying to create a run on the bank here. But.
Oh, yeah, I am. Because I want to tell you what they'll tell you when you go to deposit a check. We're going to hold your money for 7 days or whatever because you deposited this check. Then you go to withdraw your money and you have to wait 7 days for them to get the money so that you can withdraw your money. And then they'll tell you, well, we have to report this to the Department of Homeland Security. So what? It's your freaking money. If you want to take it out, take it out. And don't let them intimidate you into leaving money in the bank so that at any time they can close your account, or they can close the banks, or have a bank holiday, or they have a glitch so that you can't get money out of the machine, or whatever it is. People, I'm telling you, you need to wake up. Wake the hell up and start taking personal responsibility. We've got a break, Lori. We've got a break. We'll come back to this in just 3 minutes.
Okay.
This is Morning Brew on the Orion Talk.
DependableVoice.com, the total solution, one-stop shop for your business telecommunications needs. Nationwide business-class telecommunications services, providing voice and data, voice over internet, and hosted PBX. Dependable Voice is now offering the first month free for any voice over internet and hosted PBX services. Save up to 50% on your current phone bill and save thousands of dollars with no need to purchase PBX hardware. Hosted PBX and voice over internet services include free local and long-distance calling to the U.S., Canada, and Caribbean. Email to voicemail, follow-me services, multiple visual call reports, dynamic auto attendant, advanced ACD and call queue, unified voice and fax messaging, and much, much more. Plus, get your first month free with a minimum 3-phone system. Call Dependable Voice today at 1-888-346-1085 or visit them online at dependablevoice.com. That's dependablevoice.com. Dependable Voice, the total solution for business telecommunications.
Did you know that the water you're drinking may contain over 2,000 different contaminants? From hormone-disrupting and mind-altering chemicals like fluoride in pharmaceuticals to newly emerging contaminants like radiation and other hybrid chemicals that water treatment plants don't screen out of our drinking water. PureEffectFilters.com has a breakthrough filter solution to effectively reduce the widest range of such contaminants, including the radiation coming from the Fukushima disaster. In addition, the filters will also revitalize your water by releasing natural minerals and electrolytes while increasing pH and antioxidant levels. Safeguard and revitalize your drinking water today with a breakthrough Pure Effect water filter system. Visit PureEffectFilters.com to learn more or contact us today at 1-888-891-4821. That's 1-888-891-4821 or visit PureEffectFilters.com to learn more.
Imagine a world with natural clouds, clean air, clean water, and natural food. Why in the world are they spraying? If you love your family, if you love your children, if you love our planet, it's time to get involved. In 2010, millions of people were awakened to the question of what. Now the next question that remains to be answered is, why in the world are they spraying? An investigative look into one of the many agendas associated with chemtrail geoengineering programs, weather control. Why has our weather been changing? Are the long white lines in the sky changing our weather? Could there be a monetary and political agenda behind these damaging programs? Why in the world are they spraying? Order your copy today at www.whyintheworldaretheyspraying.com. Why in the world are they spraying?
And if you control the weather, you're going to control the planet. It's that simple.
Welcome back to Morning Brew on the Orion Talk Radio Network in 1650 AM, Tonawanda, New York. Because it's Friday, we have all kinds of good programming this evening. We have the Manfred Minute, which is a new show on Orion Talk Radio that starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, followed by the Freedom Link with Joe Joseph, and then Down the Rabbit Hole with Popeye. So be sure and check those shows out tonight right here on Orion Talk Radio. I welcome back to the show, Lori Frary. Okay, so Lori, once people get their money out of the big banks and get out of their paper, then what do you think is the next step that they should take as far as financial security?
Well, Gwen, I am pretty much of a radical in this department, and one of the topics that I wanted to talk about today was how the foreclosure market and the homeowner market has crippled our country over the last 4 or 5 years now. And the reason why I want to talk about that is because not only are a lot of people have already been kicked out of their homes and have left, but a lot of people are still in foreclosure, and a lot of people have foreclosures looming over their heads. And one of the things that we're going to work on real strongly coming up soon on the Lazy Dissident is for people to realize the power they have with their home. And even if you're in foreclosure, or even if you haven't fallen into foreclosure yet, but you've stopped making payments, and maybe you haven't even stopped making payments, and you're really struggling just to pay the mortgage, I want you to think about one thing: the fact that if you have a mortgage on your home that is relatively recent, and I mean at least within the last 10 years, whether you refinanced or whether you bought a new house, you probably, with a pretty good 90% chance, have a toxic mortgage. And what I mean by toxic mortgage is your bank, your loan servicer, does not have the wet title to your property. It is somehow boggled up in the whole derivatives market and all of the fiascos with the robo-signing and everything else. Now, if they don't have the wet title to your property, meaning they cannot get their hands on the document that you signed at your closing, they do not own the title either. You don't own it. They don't own it. Nobody owns it. It has then become what is called a zombie title, a zombie mortgage. And that means two things. One is that if you leave and they don't own that title and they don't sell that house, you're still responsible for the taxes and the maintenance and keeping it up to the local code grade in your area. And years can go by and you've already left your home, and all of a sudden you start getting notices that you're being fined thousands of dollars because of back taxes being owed, or homeowner association organizations have filed a lien on your house, lots of things. So all that being said, I want people to understand that if you go to your bank and you request a copy of your title of your mortgage from the bank and they cannot supply it to you, stop paying your payments, because you're wasting your money and you're supporting the derivatives market and the toxicity of all of the mortgages that are out there, and not one banker, not one Wall Street banker has been indicted or gone to jail or even come up on charges for the entire fiasco that practically brought down our country.
And they won't ever go to jail. Lori, the other thing that bothers me about this whole mortgage thing is that they never lent you any money. The money was created and printed at the Federal Reserve when you put your wet signature on the application. That is a request for that money to be produced, and that never came. They never gave you a damn thing, nothing. And then when they sold it, they've been paid time and time and time again, but you get behind on your payments and they're going to come and take it from you, and you people are going to sit there and take that? You're going to be homeless?
And they have been taking that. And not only was that money created out of thin air to create that mortgage, but nobody but the Federal Reserve owns the title to that phony paper now, because they bailed out the banks for $700 billion several years ago. Besides that, besides the fact that the banks have already been bailed out and paid back, they also, these same banks have collected from the title insurance company when you purchased your property, and they said, oh, well, you have to have mortgage title insurance. So, okay, well, there you go. There's another closing cost fee that you paid for. The next thing is that a lot of people who had less than 20% to put down on their home had to purchase by monthly payment PMI insurance, private mortgage insurance, that was purchased by you in your escrow payments to pay for an insurance policy for the banks to be reimbursed if you stopped making your payments. Now, that has already happened also. So not only did they collect $700 billion from the federal government from us taxpayers to pay off their losses, but they took that money and they made money off of it by selling short on their own bad investments of their own bad derivatives market. And then on top of that, they got paid again from the insurance companies, who are the actual people who are now calling as collectors to the people who they foreclosed on. They're the bad guys that are calling you every month saying, you know, we need to work this out with you. We have options for you, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? Take this option and shove it, because until you can show me that you own my mortgage, why should I pay you?
The other thing I want to tell people right now, too, is if any debt is transferred to a collection agency, that becomes, you don't have a contract. You do not have a wet ink contract with that collection agency. You never went to them for services. You don't owe them a penny. That debt was sold to them at a discount rate, and now they're going to come after you to collect. When they call you, you do not acknowledge anything over the phone. When they want to know how you're going to pay it, say you're not, unless you send me paperwork that shows a wedding contract that I have with you or an itemized list of services that you provided me. And if they keep harassing you, turn them into the to your state attorney general, to your consumer protection people. Tell them they're harassing you. You don't have a contract. You've asked them to produce a contract, and they can't. And they're trying to make collections on something that you have for services they never provided.
Well, I have one. You're absolutely right, and I have one more part of this.
Okay, Lori, we're going to break, so let's wait until we come after the break, and we'll continue this conversation. But people, you really need to wake up, and you need to start understanding how you are protected. This is Morning Brew on the Orion Talk Radio Network in 1650 AM, Tonawanda, New York. Lori and I will be right back in 3 minutes. Please stay tuned.
Real alternative radio. We are OrionTalkRadio.com.
Do you really want to know the facts about gun control? Fact. After mass shootings in Oregon and Colorado, our politicians had no political will to do anything before the elections. Fact. The UK has already banned guns, and yet violent crime has increased nearly 40%. Fact. In Aurora, there are eyewitness reports of an accomplice, but the media doesn't talk about that, nor the fact that many evidentiary records have now been sealed from the public. Fact. The U.S. government's Fast and Furious program illegally dumped thousands of assault weapons into Mexico, guns that killed our own U.S. border agents. Fact. The Second Amendment is about defending ourselves from our own government, should it ever go bad. If they want a gun ban, then how about across the board, for law enforcement too? Because their answer is, the criminals will outgun them. So what does that say about your chances, with no weapon at all? We need our Second Amendment now more than ever. And at Orion Talk Radio, we're going to fight to keep it.
IRN, USA Radio News. I'm Mark Thomas. An appeals court in Italy has convicted a former CIA station chief in Rome and 2 other Americans in the 2003 rendition kidnapping of an Egyptian cleric. The 3 were given prison sentences of 6 to 7 years. They'd been acquitted in their first trial due to diplomatic immunity. Italy's highest court last year upheld the convictions of more than 23 Americans in the abduction of an Egyptian terror suspect from a Milan street as part of the CIA's rendition program. JetBlue says a flight from New York to San Diego was diverted to Denver because of an unruly passenger. The flight landed yesterday evening in Denver, where the woman was met by authorities. Passengers tell TV station KMGH that the woman was seated in the premium section when another passenger was moved to the same row because his TV monitor didn't work. They say she became angry that he had been moved to the premium section without paying extra. A federal air marshal intervened and the flight was diverted. This is IRN USA News.
When you're running a facility, safety is key. That's why Grainger offers over 80,000 diverse safety products, all to help you reduce injuries and downtime and keep up with regulations. You might say safety's our middle name. Yep, Grainger, safety, Grainger. You get the idea. Now through November 30th, save off the Grainger catalog price with 25% off select DuPont protective clothing and 30% off Ansel products. Just call quickgrainger.com or stop by a branch today. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
All right, Flo, so the key to safe pest removal is staying calm.
Okay.
Says here, this lady's got a badger in her attic.
Oh, I love badgers. Oh, sorry, calm. There he is! Come here, little buddy. I thought he wanted a hug.
Badgers don't really hug.
Not yet. Oh, badgers.
Insuring your business vehicles with Progressive is like having Flo on the road with you. Low down payments, great discounts, and flexible billing options. Now that's Progressive. Visit Progressive.com today. United Financial Casualty Company and Affiliates.
This is Ken, host of the Information Nation. Join me every Sunday evening, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, right here on the Orion Talk Radio Network.
Welcome back to Morning Brew on the Orion Talk Radio Network in 1650 AM, Tonawanda, New York. I am your host, Gwen Caldwell. Coming up right after me is Andrew Peacher and Kevin Bull with The Earth Needs Rebels, so be sure and check out their show. And tomorrow night, we have Rapid Fire with Mike Powers from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time, so be sure and check out those shows right here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. Okay, I want to back up a little bit from what I was saying in the last segment. First of all, when collection agencies call you, they will always tell you that the call is being recorded or monitored for quality assurance or training purposes. That is a lie. What they are doing is they are recording a verbal contract that they're trying to make with you for payment. The minute that you admit that you owe them anything or you agree to pay them so much as 1 penny, they've got you for the entirety of the debt. Do not talk to those people on the phone, period. Secondly, when you go to court, when you get served with papers, you have a right to refuse service. You don't have to consent to being served. That is how the corporation gets you in their court, is by consent. They can do nothing without your consent. Thirdly, when you hire an attorney, that attorney is an officer of the court, and he cannot, no matter how he tries, cannot resolve his conflict of interest in representing the very court that he is a party to and representing your interest in front of that very court. You need to educate yourselves. If you want to take your paperwork and pay them to look it over and give you advice about what your standing is, then go into court and talk for yourself. Because the minute you have an attorney in there, he now represents the corporate interest, which is not you, the person. It's you, the corporate entity, that they're going to put the screws to. I can't say that loud and bold enough. And I'm not an attorney. I'm not given legal or financial advice. I'm just telling you my education, what I've read, what I've learned, what I've done. So I'm merely putting this out for entertainment and educational purposes. You do what you want with it. Do you want to get screwed because you're too lazy to do the research? It's your own fault. Okay, Lori, welcome back to the show. Sorry for that little rant.
That's quite all right. The reason why I hired an attorney in my particular case is because I did not want to have to respond to every single piece of paper that these idiots can throw at you. And if they're going to play the legal game, I am going to play the legal game. I, of course, am going to be in every courtroom docket time that my case would be brought up in, brought to the court with that attorney. But if you can fight the system on your own, if you have the ability to talk the talk and walk the walk, then by all means go for it. But if you are not that comfortable and educated, these guys are slick and they can manipulate and intimidate and everything else. So look at it from both ways, who you are, what your situation is, and don't hesitate to go and get advice. The worst thing you can do is just keep ignoring them and acting like they're going to go away, because they're not going to.
Well, and another,
put a stop to them.
And Lori, a lot of people, they don't have the money for the debt, and they get served with papers to show up in court, and then they just don't show up. And again, then the court rules against you by default, where
right.
you could easily go in there and prove that they didn't loan you. There is no debt. They didn't loan you or pay for anything, because money is a fiction. They didn't do anything. And the only thing that was created was when you put your signature on it. And when you put your signature on that line, that money was generated and they were paid. Well,
I just want to go back and say the one thing that is key to this whole thing. And that is, if you have any cojones at all, and you want to try to fight this thing, and all of us need you to fight it as well as the rest of us. Everybody's got to fight it, or it's not going to work. But the point is, go to your lending institution and ask them for a copy of your mortgage.
And
ask
then
them
watch
for
them
a copy of the wet title of their mortgage. And if they cannot produce it for you, you think about what the ramifications of that means. If they can't show you that they have a mortgage on your property, then there are so many methods of finalizing this thing that we have at our disposal, one of which is called quieting the title. That is where you go to the courthouse and you file a paper that they have. Go to the courthouse and ask them that what is the method to quiet a title. And if you go to the courthouse and you file the paperwork to quiet a title, if the bank cannot produce the title to them, and they don't have it on their record because it was never recorded properly. And what I mean is not the first one. Of course it was recorded the first time, but the very first time mortgage that you signed off on is not the current mortgage. It's been sold and sold and sold again. So you want to find out who owns it now, who owns that paper now, and they won't be able to tell you. And so you're servicing a debt that is non-existent. The second part of this is called filing an assessment of the title on the property, and that is for squatters. And you can literally squat in your own home. And what I mean by that is there is a document that you go and file to assess the title. Now, you're going to have to pay the taxes on the property every year. You're going to have to continue to do that. But as long as you stay in that home and you file for the assessment, the clock starts ticking. And you can go online and you can look it up, what assessment for squatting is to get the title to your property in any state in the country. And everyone has different rules. But, for example, the state of Florida that I live in, you can squat in your own home for 4 years. Now, I know people who have been in foreclosure for 4 years. If they would have filed the paperwork immediately, they would own their own homes today. So there are options, and you don't have to feel like a slug. One of the things that really pisses me off, and excuse my language, is that people buy into the mismedia information that they hear every day about, oh, these lazy people who don't pay their mortgage and these stupid people who bought houses they couldn't afford, and on and on and on. And every bit of that is propaganda and lies.
Ladies and gentlemen, your birth certificate, your social security card, your driver's license, every check you sign, they are all on watermark paper, surrounded by a border. They are being traded on the stock market. They are being used as collateral. And I hear people say, oh, well, I don't want to rabble-rouse, or I incurred the debt, so I have to pay it. No. That is a lie. That is the biggest lie you've ever been sold. They are trading you, your name, your birth certificate bond on the stock market. It's your freaking money. Look up House Resolution 192, signed June 5th, 1933. All debts shall be discharged dollar for dollar, because they took away our constitutional money as a form of payment. We cannot pay our debt. This is a ridiculous lie we've been sold for decades. You need to educate yourselves.
Well, it's not just mortgage debt. It's all revolving credit card debt, purchase debt,
any bank debt, any kind of
any bank debt, any kind of debt that you bought, like at the Best Buy, and you think you owe Best Buy. You don't owe Best Buy.
Okay.
Imagine a world with natural clouds, clean air, clean water, and natural food. Why in the world are they spraying? If you love your family, if you love your children, if you love our planet, it's time to get involved. In 2010, millions of people were awakened to the question of what? Now the next question that remains to be answered is, why in the world are they spraying? An investigative look into one of the many agendas associated with chemtrail geoengineering programs, weather control. Why has our weather been changing? Are the long white lines in the sky changing our weather? Could there be a monetary and political agenda behind these damaging programs? Why in the world are they spraying? Order your copy today at www.whyintheworldaretheyspraying.com. Why in the world are they spraying?
And if you control the weather, you're going to control the planet. It's that simple.
Did you know that the water you're drinking may contain over 2,000 different contaminants? From hormone-disrupting and mind-altering chemicals like fluoride in pharmaceuticals to newly emerging contaminants like radiation and other hybrid chemicals that water treatment plants don't screen out of our drinking water. PureEffectFilters.com has a breakthrough filter solution to effectively reduce the widest range of such contaminants, including the radiation coming from the Fukushima disaster. In addition, the filters will also revitalize your water by releasing natural minerals and electrolytes while increasing pH and antioxidant levels. Safeguard and revitalize your drinking water today with a breakthrough Pure Effect water filter system. Visit PureEffectFilters.com to learn more or contact us today at 1-888-891-4821. That's 1-888-891-4821 or visit PureEffectFilters.com to learn more.
DependableVoice.com, the total solution, one-stop shop for your business telecommunications needs. Nationwide business class telecommunications services, providing voice and data, voice over internet, and hosted PBX. Dependable Voice is now offering the first month free for any voice over internet and hosted PBX services. Save up to 50% on your current phone bill and save thousands of dollars with no need to purchase PBX hardware. Hosted PBX and voice over internet services include free local and long-distance calling to the U.S., Canada, and Caribbean. Email to voicemail, follow me services, multiple visual call reports, dynamic auto attendant, advanced ACD and call queue, unified voice and fax messaging, and much, much more. Plus, get your first month free with a minimum 3-phone system. Call Dependable Voice today at 1-888-346-1085 or visit them online at dependablevoice.com. That's dependablevoice.com. Dependable Voice, the total solution for business telecommunications.
Welcome back to Morning Brew on the Orion Talk Radio Network in 1650 AM, Tonawanda, New York. We have Canada Live featuring John and Ron Sunday afternoons from 12 to 3 Eastern Time. So check out our northern neighbors. Also, we have The Conscious Resistance with Derek Brose, who was my guest yesterday. I'm doing a lot of great stuff in Houston. His show airs Sunday afternoons from 3 to 5. So be sure and check out those shows on Orion Talk Radio Network. We are also listener-supported radio, and we have a chip-in button on the main page of Orion Talk Radio. So if you like the programming you have here and you would like to help us expand our network, please contribute your most loving gift there. Welcome back to the show, Lori. We have a lot of things besides the financial thing that we can be doing to stop participating. And I'd like to talk about a few of those things, and I'll have you back on the show to go into more depth on some of these things. But growing your own food. We have so many different methods of gardening available to us now, no matter what your space limitations are, to help stop feeding the machine. But shopping at big box stores takes money out of your local economy. Quit shopping at big box stores. Support your local producers. Go to your farmers markets. Go to your local hardware, your locally owned hardware stores. What are some other things, Lori, that you think people can be doing to stop participating?
Well, I have a lot of friends who really have been hit hard by the last 3 or 4 years of the economy, that used to have businesses or, small businesses, or used to work for big corporations and got laid off, and so on and so on. And they've learned now over the last several years how to tighten their belts. And they've been through all of their own self-implied austerity programs, like not buying this and not buying that anymore because they can't afford it. But at the same time, that has sort of been a good evolutionary process for some people, because they've come to the reality that a lot of the cheap plastic crap that they used to buy at Kmart and a lot of the new clothes that they used to buy every month because they needed to have something new to feel good or for their job, they don't have to do that anymore, and they don't want to do that anymore. They've learned how to do with less, and they've actually sort of learned to embrace that, because now a lot of people have downsized. Some have downsized all the way to their car, but we'll talk about that on another day. But the point that I'm making is, you obviously have learned that there's a lot of things that you don't need. So stop buying useless crap. That's one thing. And the next thing is there are so many wonderful consignment stores that are owned by local people that buy things at flea markets or garage sales, or they have them on consignment from customers. And a lot of the clothing that you go into these places is brand new clothing, still has tags on it, or maybe has been worn one time. Rethink about how to reuse, recycle, and not buy new. So that's one method, is to start visiting consignment stores and so on. I, for one, am not a big fan of Goodwill or Salvation Army because they're big corporations now. Mostly I would support small independent co-ops and things like that. That's one way. And the other way is, you mentioned food. One of the things that we all know has happened to our people over the last several decades is that we don't know our neighbors. And so I know all of you see things like people getting fined or arrested for growing vegetables in their front yard and so on and so forth. This is where non-compliance comes in. If you go to your neighbors and you say, listen, I'm going to plant some lettuce in my front yard, and here's some cabbage, here's a package of cabbage seeds for you, and here's a package of, squash seeds for you, and let's all grow some vegetables in our front gardens, in our front beds. And that way, when the psycho Agenda 21 police come around and try to fine us, they'll have to fine us all.
Well, and
then we can go to our city council and complain and deal with it the hard way.
Every neighborhood, too, seems to have a vacant lot. It just collects garbage. It looks like crap. You could do a community raised bed garden. You could start a food co-op. There are tons. Bountiful Baskets is an awesome one. Really cheap. $15 a basket for regular produce, or $25 for it's like a huge laundry basket that you get every week. And then you can order as many baskets as you want. And if you don't have one in your area, you can start one and you can be the distributor. But it's a huge savings, and you can do that within your neighborhood so that you're getting good organic produce year round. And you can check out more information on that at bountifulbaskets.org. It's awesome. We have two of them here. I live in a really small community, and we have two of them so that there's a delivery every week. And if you don't call by noon, they post at 11 o'clock to get your basket, to order your basket. And if you haven't called by noon, you aren't getting a basket that week. That's how many people are doing it. It is a huge savings. So that's
a good idea. Plus, one of the things that people just are going to have to break down and do is they're going to have to go, somebody who's an aggressive person and friendly is going to have to be the one in the neighborhood to go door to door and pass out a piece of paper or something and say, hi, I'm your neighbor. We need to get to know each other. We need to, meet at somebody's house every couple of months. We need to start to have a plan of what we're going to do when things are so tough that maybe the grid goes down and the grocery stores are emptied of food in 1.5 to 3 days. That is proven that there's not going to be food for you to go and buy. And I'm not going to get into prepper talk, but
we've gotten so far away from what I call the potluck mentality. And, we used to, in our neighborhood, just in our immediate block, we had a rotating potluck once a week, and whoever's week it was put the sign in their front yard, potluck here, and they would do the main meal, and everyone else would bring the desserts and vegetables and salads. And it was amazing, and we got to know our neighbors that we didn't know, and the kids would come, we'd play croquet and visit, and everybody gets a great meal. bring one dish, and then there was always leftovers. And this is a way when times get hard for everybody to eat well, even if you can only cook one item. And we have gotten so far away from that. So that doing that neighborhood potluck, that is easy stuff. Just invite all your neighbors, put the sign in your front yard with the date and the time, neighborhood potluck, and then once everybody gets there, ask them who wants to do this next week or next month. And then you can start having those conversations.
Well, not only that, but the reality is that you either do it by choice or you're going to do it by force at some point. And what I mean by force is because it's going to get, if we're not successful in taking this country back soon, and we all see it dwindling away to the point where the first person who jumps up with his gun and goes crazy and starts shooting up the place and they start throwing martial law at us, then we're not going to have any other opportunities than to do these things. So you might as well go ahead and get it started and start, creating this sort of hidden organization in order to be prepared for when the crap hits the fan, because scrambling to try to do it then is like trying to decide what your fire drill is going to be when the fire's roaring already in the living room.
You don't want to be in a crisis during a crisis. You want to know that you've got a plan in place. And you want to know, having potlucks is kind of cool because then you find out what your strengths and weaknesses are within your neighborhood. And then you can start working to strengthen those weak points. Lori, I want to give you a chance before the show's over to give out your contact information.
Okay. We have, so far, this has only been going a few days, and I thank you, Gwen, for giving us the opportunity to come on and talk about it. Go on Facebook and look for groups, and it's called just Lazy Dissident, Lazy Dissident. And we're working on a website that's going to be lazydissident.com. It's already up with a holding page. You can go there and register for our updates that we're going to be sending out. It's completely secure. And start finding people, join our group, start finding people in your own area that you can network with, and you can be a lazy dissident too and start to take your country back the easiest way there is, and that's to starve them out.
Thank you for joining me, Lori. Everyone have a nice weekend. I'll be...
At Orion News Talk, we know times are bad. Ever since 9/11, a battle has been waging against we the people. Our Constitution is under attack. A clandestine war has been launched.